Yes.
That's
All
me.
right. Yeah, I know, right? I like halfway through the call, I'm like, oh, I didn't record. All right, guys, welcome to our team call, which really is Teresa's team call, which I like took over. I was talking to Teresa and she was like, oh yeah, I'm doing a team call on recruiting. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is what so many of you ask me about, right? You see how I recruit, you see my post, and you know what I do. And that works for me, 4 years into the business as I've built and with different social media platforms. And Teresa has been coaching like just a year. She is 1-star qualifying. She'll be 2-star qualifying like any day now. And her team is pushing to finish this year 5-star elite. So this is someone who in a year will most definitely be, within her first year of coaching, will finish premier for sure, if not elite. And it took me double that amount of time to hit elite. And I think the thing with Teresa is that she has found her coaches, right? That's what so many of us say. Well, I can find challengers and I can invite to challenge groups, but how do I find true working coaches? And so I'm really, really excited for Teresa to explain her process and how she has found that success so quickly. So Teresa, the floor is yours.
Yay! Well, first I have to say hi to my team that's all on here. I'm so excited you guys are here supporting me, because really I feel like I'm the one talking, but they're the ones who do all of the work. So I love them all very much, and I'm so glad they're here. So like Holly said, I'll give a little bit of background about myself, just so you guys kind of know where I'm coming from. And then the first part, I'm really going to talk about how I've created my coaching avatar, and then how I recruit coaches, essentially. So I've been coaching for about a year, signed up last September, did my first challenge group then. But that being said, I had literally no intentions of doing a business when I signed up for this. I loved challenge groups. I loved Beachbody workouts. That's what I had done at the gym before I had my son. And then I went back to work and was like, I don't have time to go to the gym anymore, but I love the community aspect of challenge groups. So I was just wanting to do challenge groups. I thought they were so fun, and that was my goal. So, and Holly knows that I hit like SC30. I had not one discount coach. Never, this didn't even matter to me. I was just having fun signing people up to do groups. So January came around and everybody was talking about their goals and like elite and premier. And I'm like, I like to set goals. I guess I should have some goals. I've hit Success Club, I want to challenge myself a little bit more. And I was also to the point where I had seen how much coaching had really helped me just in so many aspects of my life as far as personal development and that kind of stuff. And I thought, if this has been so great for me, it's something I feel like I should share with other women and share that opportunity. So that's when I was like, okay, I'm going to talk about coaching and I'm going to start recruiting coaches. And I think January, I was looking on my Instagram trying to figure out when I did my first post about coaching. And it was like a whole nother challenge. It was like, okay, I've been talking about challenge groups. I've talked about so many of my struggles as a new mom and a working mom, but how do I transition into talking about coaching? And that was a big challenge for me. Most of the posts that I had seen were just people that were trying to come home from their jobs and that kind of stuff. And I just didn't really relate to that. I will most likely work as a PA in some form my entire life. I love my job. I would love more freedom and flexibility, especially financially. But I can't talk about not wanting to work. That's just was not an option for me. So I really had to dig deeper and say, okay, so how am I going to convince these people that have full-time jobs that like their job to take on another responsibility? Because that's essentially what I did, because I'm crazy, which is part of the reason that I probably recruit really hardworking coaches. So I really was doing some personal reflection and development and thought, the people that I'm recruiting to my challenge groups are very different than the people that I want to recruit as coaches. I'm very busy. I'll just be honest. I work 40 hours a week, and I did not want to create a team of people who needed me to hold their hand through everything. I wanted to be their leader. I wanted to be their, encourager. I wanted to answer those questions that we all have at the beginning but I didn't want somebody that was always coming to me with excuses on, I can't do this because this is hard. I can't do this because it's hard. And we all have those days, but for the most part, you know, I wanted to create a team of leaders. So I really sat down, I did a diamond bet in February, and there was a great talk on creating avatars. And I thought, okay, I need to create an avatar for my coaching, for my coaches, because I'm recruiting a different type of person. So that's kind of, I sat down, and these are just some questions that I really went through that helped me figure out who is the person that I am trying to recruit. So I wrote down, like, what does your dream coach look like? Not physically, maybe, but you know what I mean. What do they look like? What do they do? What makes them your dream coach? What kind of characteristics do they have that makes them so special and that person that you really want to recruit? So just kind of a little bit more on that as far as the characteristics, because I think that's a really big part of it. I kind of wrote down things that I would say describe me that have helped me probably be a successful coach. I am an overcommitter. I'm very passionate. So when I say I'm going to do something, especially if I put it out there in the world, like, I'm not going to fail, because I just won't take failure as an option. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to be making 6 figures or be a 5-star diamond in 6 months, but you know, I'm going to hit those goals that I make for myself. I am a self-starter, so I will pretty much, you give me the information and I'll learn it on my own, and I'll ask you the questions along the way, but I'm going to make sure that I read information thoroughly and I don't have the answer in front of me before I ask somebody. I like to set goals. I'm very competitive, but I also love a really encouraging environment. I love group fitness. That was a huge part of kind of just my whole experience with health and fitness. So that's something else that I talk about. I have a lot of limited time, so I want people who are efficient with the time they have. They have time management. And so those are kind of the characteristics that I feel like describe me. And those are characteristics that I really looked for in other coaches. The next big question was, okay, why did I decide to coach? Why did I decide to do this? And the number one reason was I wanted to help people. I'm in a career where I help people all day, and this is a really different way to help people. And that's always been my number one thing. So some people may say it was for the accountability factor. Maybe it was for the income. I could have more freedom with my family and freedom with my babies. You know, we all have different reasons, and they're all special because that's your reason for joining. But I try to be really consistent in sharing the message that I really do this because I want to help people. I talk about that in my challenge group post, and I really talk about that in my coaching post, because I don't want someone to read a post of mine about my challenge group and then go to a post of mine about my coach, about recruiting coaching, and being like, now I'm hearing from 2 totally different people. This girl says she wants to help people. Now it's just, I want to make all this money. You know, I really try to give a consistent vibe kind of across those platforms. Another great question is, you know, what were your biggest objections when you decided to coach? Because if you talk about those objections, the people that are going to come to you are going to be, man, I have been not wanting to talk to you because I was worried about this. And then you posted that. So like for me, it was cost. I love to budget. I don't like to waste money. So I want to know that I'm really just not a risk taker. Like, let's be real. My husband's like, oh my God, Teresa, you don't even have a gym membership. And I'm like, I bet it's $100, Cody. So I am certainly not a risk taker, especially financially. I really had no experience with multi-level marketing, but part of me was a little nervous to put myself out there in that business. We've all had friends that we've watched that kind of give a bad name and a bad reputation, or maybe we've been part of a business that wasn't a great community. So that was another huge fear of mine. Just the fear of being a failure. You know, we've also seen all those people that say, I'm selling this. And it's like, we all know if you're not posting about it, you're not doing it. Like, we've been in this business long enough to know that. So that was another thing. I was like, well, shoot, if I'm putting this out there, people are going to ask me about it, and then I have to keep doing it. So I try to also work some of those objections into my posts about coaching. So that is kind of the coaching avatar. So I'm going to read a post I did the other day to you guys. Sorry, I was talking to this girl who's trying to wean her child on Instagram, and she was asking advice. We've all been there before. So let's see. So this was a post I did this week about coaching, and you can kind of see what I've told you now and how this hopefully will just help you see how I kind of put it into words. So it said, being debt-free isn't about a life without payments. It's about life with opportunity. I will never forget the moment I got the phone call that I was accepted in a PA school. Years of studying, volunteering, sleepless nights, practice interviews, and research led up to that moment. I signed the loan documents and spent the next 30 months working harder than I could have ever imagined. I knew when I graduated I would have a great job to support my future family. But I had no idea how the price tag on my education would impact my future. I couldn't even look at the total amount because it seemed like I was never making progress. Every time I logged onto my account to make a payment, anxiety filled every inch of my body. I felt so controlled by this debt hanging over me. So I decided to do something about it. I took a risk. I took my passion for health and fitness and started my own business that could create another source of income. Each day, I get to help women across the country change their health and future. I'm able to quadruple my loan payment. That means I'm saving tens of thousands of dollars and gaining years of debt-free living. I decided my dreams for my family were more important than the judgments of others. I decided that instead of letting all these loans dictate my lifestyle and future, I would figure out a way to make them go away quicker. Each day we are faced with opportunities. It's just as easy to say no or not today than to take the risk of saying yes. But I will tell you, saying yes could really change your entire life. So I really hit a lot of points of my coaching avatar, getting accepted into graduate school, being so excited, not caring how much it cost, and then the realization that I have essentially a second mortgage, and now I have to work because I paid for all this school. I talked about how I was nervous about the judgments of others and the fact that I don't want to fail. So that's, I think really creating those posts that strike with those specific people is what have helped me find incredibly high quality coaches. So I don't just sign anybody up because I don't really say that I'm just looking for anybody. And I don't make posts that just say like, anybody come sign up with me. And sometimes it is hard when we just want that one more coach. But you guys, I have 4 or 5 great business builders and they're incredible. And they teach me stuff every single day. And it's so worth it to find the right people versus just finding people who constantly drain your energy. So that's kind of that part of that. Another thing that does make a really big difference for me is when I post about coaching. So I don't ever post on social media during the day because I'm at work. I typically don't even post in the morning, like an actual post before work, just because I don't find that people that I'm trying to attract are on their phones at that time. So if you have like your Instagram as a business account, you can see how much engagement and interactions you get. So it makes a really big difference for me to post like at 5:30, 6:30 time frame. So that's something I try to pay attention to as well. Is if you're going to create these awesome posts, you want people to be able to see them. So that's how I make my posts. I really focus my first part of the month on recruiting for my challenge groups, like inviting, and then I invite more to the coaching opportunity the second half of the month. So I'm always posting about everything. But as far as personal invites, that's kind of what's worked best for me. So then I decided to post about coaching back in January, and then I had somebody interested, and I was like, well, crap, I don't even know what to tell them. So that kind of leads me to the second part of this. I had somebody interested in coaching. I had never done a coaching sneak peek. I did not have that organized, and I wanted to jump on this opportunity that this person wanted to learn about coaching. So I decided to just create a short video and send it to her about the coaching opportunity. And that is essentially how I run my business. So I've never done a coaching sneak peek. I just create these short YouTube videos that have a link that is personalized. It's the only person who can see it. It's really easy. I'm like the most non-computer savvy person. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. And it's really not a big time commitment. I keep the videos 7 minutes and shorter. So I will kind of tell you guys what I cover in that video. I make it really brief. I make it really casual. I really try to showcase like who I am so they don't just think I'm just this random person on Instagram, especially if it's a cold market person. So I always start off saying like, Holly, I am so excited that you're interested in coaching. It has been a life-changing experience for me, and I'm so excited to share this with you. So, I'm going to make this video really brief, kind of just cover the basics, but we can always talk in more detail if you're interested. So that's how I kind of start my videos out. And then I always make sure to have at least 3 reasons why I think they would be a great coach. So I make sure to look at their social media and say, you know, I loved the picture you shared about that recipe, or I love that you share pictures with your family and that that's important to you. So, and then, you know, I think you would fit in well with my team because of X, Y, and Z. So I want them to feel like they're not just signing up to just, you know, so that I can just make $50 or whatever. I want them to feel part of this community. And I want them to really know that I do genuinely, I don't just invite anybody to coaching. I'm very, you know, I make sure to do my research. So I want them to realize that I already think they're special. And then I really just cover the basics. So the first thing I always talk about are my challenge groups, and kind of what a challenge group encompasses. Most of these people are people that have never done anything with me. So I talk about, you know, workouts, meal plans, Shakeology, and personal development are the big 4 key components of a challenge group. I talk about the fact how much that costs, which brings me to my next point, which is the investment in doing this business. I look at like $115 investment to be an active coach, you know, because you're ordering your Shakeology, and that I've never ever been in the negative in this business. I've always been in the upside, even when I've been paying for social media and all that kind of stuff. So that takes me to my next point, which is always income. And I'm just very brief on that. I say 25% of retail is what you essentially need to understand when you start doing this. You make more bonuses as you accumulate a team, but I did not even understand that when I started doing this. I really didn't think it made a difference in my business. And then I always make sure to tell them that is something we can talk about in more detail if you're not comfortable, like you don't feel like you know enough, but I'm not going to sit here and break it down for them on this video. So then I go into the time commitment. I always make sure to stress the fact that although we all have the same workout programs and nutrition programs, you know, my business is going to be very different than Stephanie's business or Taylor's business, because we all have different lives and we have different experiences. So that's kind of the cool thing about it. You know, you have incredible products, but you don't have to reinvent the wheel completely, but you get to put your own spin on it. So your time commitment's going to depend on how much you want to do. And I am truthfully someone who just like does random stuff throughout the day. Like if I have time between patients, I'm like, you know, answering messages or checking in on my challenge groups, because that's just what works for me. So I just kind of tell that aspect of what I do and how much time I spend doing it. And then I always finish up with the trainings we have, where we are ranked in Beachbody, and why that is so unique and makes a huge difference. And I say that, I mean, if you go to my social media, you're not going to just see a bunch of Shakeology and those kinds of things, because that's not how our team trains people. So I kind of end with that. I make sure, like I had one girl that I could tell by her message back, she was very skeptical of the fact that, oh, this might be a multi-level marketing business. So I kind of made sure to say like, yeah. Like I was like, but why did I say, if Teresa created workouts, nobody would look like this. Like, I don't know how to do that. I'm going to let Autumn do that. I can help you and I can encourage you, but I mean, there's no way I could create workouts this well, even though I love fitness. So I kind of spin it like that because it's the truth. If we would not be looking good if I was in charge. So if I feel like they have some big hesitations and I can tell that ahead of time, I try to answer those too. But I make it really brief. I make it very casual. And then I always just tell them, you know, write down your questions. We can chat about this. Let me know your thoughts either way. No pressure, you know. And then everybody signs up. Not really. I wish. But I do think it's been really helpful, and it works really, really well for my schedule. So that's kind of the bulk of the information I have. I hope that was helpful.
I love it. Lainey said, so do you make a new video for each potential coach? Like,
I do. So I'm not cool or fancy or famous enough to have like 40 people on my sneak peek. So, and I really kind of recruit consistently. So I do make personalized videos for everybody, but even people who don't sign up usually say like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for making that for me. Like I didn't expect that. And so hopefully they're kind of seeing that like, yeah, like I'm totally willing to spend 7 minutes on a video. What if this coach is Holly Hilliard, you know, and you don't know who's on the other side of that. And that's what I always try to tell myself, like, you never know who's going to surprise you.
Yeah. And I was talking to someone else about this. I've looked into, there's add-ins, and I think Google has their own plugin as well on email where you can do like the custom videos and it embeds it in the email. And so I've thought about doing that for challenge groups too. If you're like really talking to someone, especially if you move them, like Facebook Messenger, you know, we use the voice message, right? And so that personal touch is everything there. But if you're moving them from Instagram over to email, a lot of times that video is really, really nice. And then with coaching, it's even more important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. What other questions do you guys have for Teresa? I mean, I love it because it's the basics, it's knowing who you're talking to, and then it's not being afraid to talk to them. I think that's the biggest mistake that new coaches make, is trying to talk to everyone, because we're so afraid that, you know, we're going to leave someone out, or I'm going to miss a customer. But that's what I tried to do in the beginning. I tried to talk to everyone because I just wasn't sure who I was talking to. I was like, oh, I'm just like a working professional. You know, what does that look like? But, you know, as Teresa said, I mean, there's so many. Teresa, like for me, like I talk about being like a boy mom and mom. Teresa hardly even mentioned that. I mean, like obviously her son's in there a lot, but like just now, so much of the coaches she's recruiting, it's not that, right? And like she said, a lot of the people she's recruiting are people who want to keep working. And so our messaging is going to be very different. And that's good. Like the coaches that resonate with her are going to go with her, and those that resonate with me are going to sign up with me. So don't be afraid to talk.
Yeah. And I think that took a long time for me to say, like, what the heck, like, what do I talk about? But when I decided I wanted to start really recruiting more medical people, I made sure I always had a picture in my white coat, and it sounded credible, because I'm not going to recruit people that respect medicine if they're like, she's in her white coat jabbering about something that doesn't sound educated. So even though the majority of people may be like, I'm not sure what she's talking about, I'm talking to a really specific person when I do those types of posts, which is okay with me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I learned, like, okay, if these are what I'm looking for, then this is what, if somebody goes to my Instagram, that's what they need to see, you know, see that I'm crazy and I don't take a break and I don't sit down. Like, I am not the napping mom. Like I couldn't nap if you gave me $1 million. I would be laying there like, you know, so like, that's just not me. So it's just who you are. And it's so easy to say that when you think, oh, you know, people are like, do people just sign up with you because you're in medicine and this? And I'm like, no, a lot of people are totally turned off because they think I'm not realistic, or I don't have all this knowledge and I can't do that. So it doesn't make it easier, I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I think that's an excuse people throw out there.
I mean, I truthfully learned there's always an excuse, guys. There always is.
Yeah. And I love, you know, so many people are afraid to talk about the hard work. And Teresa's like, no, I work hard all the time. And like, I love it and I thrive on it. And I find joy in each thing that I do. And I think that's what's so important. And I change that in my messaging too. A lot of times when I say like, I'm working, I'll like put work in quotations, or my job in quotations, like when I'm writing a post, because it doesn't feel like that typical work or job, because I love it. And same thing with Teresa. Like she loves both her jobs, and it merges these passions for her. So Stephanie asked, do you use email at all, or do you just send YouTube links in your IG DM?
I typically just send them in Instagram. I used to always, and sometimes I do, I'm like, oh, what do you prefer? And then I'm like, no, then they're not going to answer me. So I'm just trying to get it to them as quick as I can. Yeah. Make it simple so they can get it. And then eventually, you know, and then especially like those people that I'm like, I really still want them to coach, and they say no, I just make sure to keep my Instagram, like chat with them, you know, on story and stuff, because that is easy. And I don't think it puts too much pressure.
Yeah, that's smart. Other questions, guys? So I think there is, so I want to update one of the videos in our new coach training, but it's at the very end, and it's the video by Ashley Laughlin, and she talks about your avatar and then storytelling in there. So if you guys are looking for somewhere to start, like Teresa explained some of the questions and things she thought about, Ashley talks about that same thing in that training video. So what are the different categories of avatar she broke down? So just like Teresa said, so if you wanted even more detail about kind of developing that avatar, because it is important. And then it's really easy. You're talking to that one person in your post, right? You're not trying to talk to everyone.
It honestly took me months to create my avatar, because I was like, I don't know who I am. I was like overthinking it so much. And then when I finally sat down, well, I truthfully figured out my avatar when I looked at a challenge group and I had like all the same person in it. And I was like, oh, I guess that's my avatar. And then, yeah, I just look at my like list before I make a post. I'm like, okay, is this going to talk to that person? You know?
Mm-hmm. Sierra said, how often do you follow up after having conversations with potential coaches?
If I've sent them a video, I follow up fairly quickly, like, because you can see on YouTube if they watched it, which is awesome. And sometimes I don't hear back. I mean, a lot of times I don't hear back, guys, but I'm like, well, I didn't say no, so they're still thinking about it, you know? And I leave it really open-ended in the video, because I don't want people to not do it just because they're nervous, but I also don't want somebody to do it for the wrong reasons either, because then they're just, you know, you want them to have a good experience with Beachbody and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I follow up, and if they don't answer after that, I don't really keep nudging. I mean, like one girl, I think she would make an amazing coach, and she was like, I just don't want to commit the money right now, you know? And I was like, okay. But I'm like, I'm going to follow up with her in a few months and be like, hey, you know, it's a great time to start this. She knows how much it costs. She could save the money up. So if they have like a really like, okay, I have an excuse like that, then it's easier for me to follow up with them. They're just like, no, I don't want to do this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. So Lauren asked, what's your YouTube? But I'm guessing that all these videos that you make them private, right? So no one can see it except those people who have the link, right?
Yeah, so you just share the link. It's super easy. Just if they don't have a link, they can't watch it.
Yeah, yeah. And you can change it like public, private, like before you publish it, you can go in there and change it. I think it's public, unlisted, and private. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Never mind. I was going to go into other things.
It does take time, but it's like when you're new and you don't have like all these millions of people wanting to join you, it's doable.
Yeah, the personal touch for sure. I used to do like webinars. And so Jen Richardson, who, I mean, she was top 10 coach, like crazy successful. She'll like talk to people, and then she'll get like groups of 10 and do like individual Zoom videos, Zoom calls. So it's kind of similar, you know, so as that grows, but then you're on with them one-on-one, and they're all connecting over their stories, and you're allowing them, you know, it's kind of like new coach calls where it's like, oh yeah, that's a good question I didn't even know to ask. So sometimes that allows, you know, other coaches to kind of, or potential coaches to play off one another. So Zoom calls are awesome too. My issue with Zoom calls is that like people can't make it, or some people get scared by Zoom calls. Like YouTube is like, watch it whenever you want. And like, I mean, it's so easy. Like,
and most people always watch them. Like cause I know like Holly had kind of tried a similar thing on YouTube, and it was like, people didn't really follow up. Mm-hmm. Most people watch them. I mean, watch them pretty quickly, honestly. There's only one girl, and I still am trying to get her. She hasn't watched her video.
Yeah. And I had good luck with it. When was it? Like in December, when people are super busy, I had really good luck with those videos. Like December was a really good time for YouTube videos. So yeah. So even if you didn't personalize them, I still did like my 4 normal videos on YouTube. And so whenever I have someone who says, oh, I don't have Facebook, I just send them I don't send them the individual videos, the playlist, and then they can watch like all 4, but they are longer. So I like the really just short, sweet, and customized. I mean, that makes a difference. It makes a difference, especially in this day and age when people just think they're being recruited as a number.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm truthfully, it's like, I just read some personal development and I'm like, okay, let's just do it. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and just, you know, once you get in the rhythm of it, it makes it a lot easier. I think truthfully, when I went diamond, I think I took myself so much more serious that I felt so much more comfortable calling myself a business, which is, I mean, it was definitely a turning point for me, just in like, okay, I'm really going to do this. I'm not just kind of messing around anymore.
Yeah. It's so funny for those of you in like the diamond bet, like sometimes, you know, we're looking at like spouse accounts or like friends or family accounts, and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to build those to emerald just to get to diamond. And people are like, why am I doing this? You know, I'm not a real diamond. But there is a mindset shift. Like when you hit diamond, first off, like everyone around you sees it, right? So you're building that momentum and that credibility in that business. And like Teresa said, there's something that's like, I did it. Whether or not I had to build like my husband to emerald and like my mom to emerald, it doesn't matter. I still built that team. I still built a diamond team beneath me. And it does. It flips something in your head and those watching you. So yeah, I love that. Mackenzie said, did you struggle in the beginning with people actually signing up? I'm having a lot of interest and they seem to slow down or back out.
Oh yeah. You know how many times I've had links out and I'm like, really? You're not going to click it. And it's super easy to let those frustrations kind of get you down. And that's where personal development makes a huge difference. And I mean, Taylor knows, my coaches know, I'll be like, oh my gosh, you know, we are like, oh, we've had all these links out and they just freaking click it and sign up, put your credit card in. And like I had a girl that was going to be a discount coach, and which was like the last person I needed for my husband to be diamond, and she backed out and she was gung ho about it. So yeah, it happens to everybody.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. And that's why it's just that numbers game. And I think, I mean, one thing with Teresa, because she's found that really strong voice, she's finding the right following, like on places like Instagram and in growing that cold market. But Teresa has like, I mean, really since you've become diamond, like I just remember the diamond retreat, you're like, yeah, I just message people. Like you just have no issue like getting on and sending a bunch of messages. And so I had a coach the other day tell me, she quit coaching and she was like, I mean, I messaged 50 people a month and I didn't hit like Success Club. I didn't hit diamond. I was like 50 people a month. That's because that's not enough. Right.
Nobody come up with me if I only message.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think if you like struggle with inviting, and I still have hard times, but I think, okay, would I have ever been in this position if I wouldn't have been invited? No. So it's almost like it's so selfless to put yourself out there and say, you know what? This has been amazing for me and I want to share it with you. If you want to learn what this is, let me know. You know, you just have to look at it from that way. Not, I'm just trying to share this with you to make $50 at Meet Success Club. It's like each person on my team, I look at them, I'm like, this is so crazy. Like if I would not have invited Taylor, then Ashley wouldn't be here. You know, it's like, it's such an awesome way to see like how it changes people's lives. So you have to think about how somebody invited you and how that changed your life. And I still have people that are like, I've been so nervous to reach out to you. And I'm like, how the heck have I not invited you? I've invited everybody. And it reminds me that I'm like, you know, people are so nervous to say like, I'm not happy with the way I look, or I don't feel good. And sometimes we just have to be the bigger person and be the coach and say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there because that's what we have to do. So yeah. And glass of wine helps. And some personal development.
I know. I have to start my day with personal development and like get in that right mindset.
So I have a glass here, but I've been too chatty to drink it.
I'm really missing Energize and wine, and like the Energize, wine, and personal development. That's like my magic, and I'm like, I'm missing 2 out of the 3.
You better be cute,
right? This baby better be worth it. Like Energize and wine are back like day 1 postpartum. They need to like come to the hospital with me.
Oh my God. The IV of Energize.
Yeah. Any other questions for Teresa tonight? I hope this was helpful. Like I love hearing from other coaches and hearing different perspectives, and I think it's so important. Again, the things that I'm doing now are different than the things that I was doing in year 1, and social media has changed so much from when I was in year 1. So like Teresa's like right there with you guys. Like beginning of this year is when she decided to actually build a business. And now 10 months later, I mean, we're in October, almost November, and you know, her team's about to hit Premier and pushing for elite this year. So
they're awesome. I love them.
Yeah, your team's amazing. I was lucky enough to get to call into her retreat, and I was like, oh, I want to be there drinking champagne with you guys. Like they just like have so much fun. And that's also the beauty in finding your tribe, right? And like talking to the people you want to join you is then you go on these retreats. You're like, oh, this is like, I'm just hanging out with my best friends. Like it's so fun and so natural.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so much fun.
It all works. It does work. It took me a long time to like find that, but yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Yeah, Jessica just commented. She said, would I be here if I hadn't been invited? That puts inviting into perspective. And I think so too. I think it really does put inviting into perspective. So thank you. It was amazing. Yay.
Helpful. Okay.
All right, guys. I'll put the recording up on the team page. So thanks, Teresa.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.